Good evening and good evening again, and welcome to the Yvonne Michele show. This is the show where we talk openly about business, inspiration, music. We talk about lifestyle. We talk about a lot of things. So before we get started in our conversation, why don't you go and get yourself a cup of tea or coffee, get a slice of cake, and get ready for our conversation. I want to welcome you here today to this new show. This is a new concept show, and we are going to dig deep into lots and lots of things. So, whilst you're getting yourself relaxed, I am going to introduce my very, very special guest. Now, over the years, as a female, and as a female in business, I look to other females to inspire, to motivate, and really to empower me and other females around me in what they're doing. And I came across this young woman, and I was absolutely blown away by what she has achieved. Not only is she one of the UK's first CEOs of a construction company, but she's also a woman of colour. And so, without further ado, I am going to introduce to you this amazing, incredible woman, and her name is Carol Massey. Carol, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Yvonne. So looking forward to this evening, and thank you for inviting me on the show.
You are so welcome. I'm so glad that you could be here. So I just want to give you a little insight into the show, because as we go into the show, we're going to have a little segment that we call Coffee Cake and a little bit of conversation. Now, this is where we look at the bakers, the people who make bread, the people who make cakes. And we want you guys to come and send in your samples. If you want to get a little plug of your business, then you can send it to me and we will sample it live on air. And we will also give you an opinion. So really, guys, what you've got to do is make sure when you send your samples, they are the creme de la creme, because we will be honest and open about your product. But if you want to get your product out there to the masses, this is the place for you to do it. So we will have a contact detail, info@yvonnemichele.com, that will come up later on in the show for you to contact me direct. And then we will sample your wares. So, Carol,
yes,
get ready. I hope you've got a good palate on you.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it.
We have cheesecake today. Yes, we do. So anyway, so that's going to be later on in the show. But for now, Carol, I want to find out from you. I'm going to get myself nice and comfortable. And as we are having our cup of tea or coffees that we have, I want to find out, where did it all start for you? What's your story? How did it start for you, your success?
So I was very, very much interested in accountancy. So my whole background's been about numbers and accountancy.
Okay.
And I did a lot of that studying at night school, because many years ago, when I was leaving school, there was 3+ million unemployed. So it was go to college, get a job. And I took the opportunity to get a job.
Right.
And do night school. And my first step into construction was actually as an office junior, going to Land Construction on Inkerman Street and picking up the big manuals to photocopy, which they were tendering for projects.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my first bout into actually understanding what construction was about. I then, as I said, study accountancy, and I got the first opportunity to be a junior accounts clerk for Barrett's, the house builders, which, believe it or not, is still around today, which
Wow.
is phenomenal for a construction company. And I remember the day going for the interview, the accountant there very much about making me feel relaxed. I've come to a big corporate company looking for a job. And the first thing he said, "Oh, I love Caribbean food." And that whole interview from that point on was just brilliant, because I just felt so relaxed. And, he one of the things he asked me was, what do you want to, from a career path? I said, I just want to understand construction, fulfill some of the, the studying I've done in accountancy, and just be successful. And I just remember at 17 years old, that's what I remember saying. And it just evolved from there, Yvonne. I carried on working for the house builder there for about 4 years. I did a stint in London, working for a financier for Allied Dunbar, but construction was in my DNA.
Right.
And I went for an interview at a construction company, an Irish-based construction company. And I was fortunate, got the job, and I stayed with them for over 15 years. And it was seeing them in small premises to self-purpose built offices in Letchworth. And through that years of transition, I was just intrigued. The guys were going out on site, they were ordering material, they were doing timesheets, and everything was paper-based.
Right.
And I kept on saying, there's got to be a better way of doing things. So that's when, I put the number inside of my passion, the accountancy, to one side.
Yeah.
And I thought, there's got to be computer systems that can do this better. And that's when I got into construction technology.
Right.
And I then was given the task of going out to market, having a look at what construction software was out there. And I did the research, implemented the system, and then the company that I implemented asked me, said, "Look, would you like to come and work for us?" Now, at the time, I'd only just had my last child, and she was very young. And I thought the job would entail traveling around the country. And it just wasn't suited. But, they waited for me for 2 years when my daughter was a lot older. And I took that opportunity to go into that role. And yes, it was hard. People will say that when you're in a job and you're staying in hotels, you're living the life. It's not great, because you go to work and then you're going back to a hotel room where you're just on your own and you're phoning your family at the end of the phone. So that was some of the difficulty. But, fortunate that I have a great husband that, looked after things whilst I was away, that enabled me to, to do what I wanted to do and get me where I am at this moment in time. So that was part of the journey into construction technology. And then a few years ago, so I stayed with that company for, nearly 13 years. And during that role, I identified that I like building relationships. And it wasn't all about, revenue and bringing in sales and numbers. It was about, what can I do to help? And that's where the bigger clients saw that I became a trusted advisor. Right. So I used to go in, understand their challenges, and then, look at whether it's either systems, people, or process, give my recommendations. And for the company I worked for, that was quite good, because they were getting revenue for my time being out with these companies. And these were big organizations. So if I mention Carillion, everyone knows Carillion. So I used to look after their accounts on a daily basis. There used to be some other household name like Taylor Wimpey and Taylor Woodrow. So my job was just to go in there and make sure that they utilize, technology. And it was from there I decided that, there was other things that were happening. It was a male-dominated environment, construction is.
Yeah, it still is today, right?
It still is today.
Okay.
And, you've got two ends of construction. You've got out on the construction site.
Yeah.
So you've got your labourers, your builders, your planners. And then the side that I'm more focused on is about the technology side. So how do I enable better processes using technology? Right. But even still, from that position, it's still male dominated. You've got male salespersons, you've got male account managers, you've got male project managers. So even in that whole world of construction technology, you still had your challenges. And for me, that was a new dynamic to myself, from being in a company where I'd seen a construction company being part of it growing, to then move into a technology where there were people already there, knew about technology. You know, I never written code in my life.
Right.
All of a sudden, I'm sitting there and I'm having to write, you know, HTML codes and style sheets to integrate two systems to another. I'm like, Lord of mercy, what if I get the code wrong? And,
Right.
and it was just things that you were just left to get on with. And I think that's one of the things was that, you know, each time I was just left to either sink or swim, if that in that kind of way. You know, you've given the opportunity and it's for you to actually take that opportunity, and that's what I did. And then after I left that company, I went freelance for about 6 months, just, you know, through contacts through the construction sector, went and did a few contracting work. And then this opportunity came up at where I am now. And oh gosh, I remember the Friday evening ringing my husband and saying, I've got 3 choices here, because I got offered a full-time job at somewhere else. I had the opportunity to stay as a contractor. And then this position as the CEO came up. And I was like, what do I do? Oh, what do we do? And he said, let's go away and switch off from it, and you'll make the right decision. And I thought to myself, I've got to give it a go. Who's going to offer me a position like this again? So it was an opportunity of a lifetime. And I just thought, I've got to do this. And I know I can do this. And I've got to give it my best. And you know what it's like. Social media can either make you or break you.
It's true.
And I remember posting or changing my LinkedIn profile. And I can honestly say that there were some encouraging comments, but there were also some very, very negative comments.
Right.
And that's a bit that it struck a chord that, okay, there are some people that don't want to see good happen to others or opportunities. And I took that as well, actually, I'm going to rise above that, because this is my stage. This is my opportunity to do something that I feel that I can do and prove people wrong.
What was it that made you feel that you could? You know, out of everything that has happened and this major opportunities knocking at your door, it's an open door. You're hearing people say or seeing people say negative things, because many people who are listening will be going through that right now. They will be experiencing things from their friends, even their family, and even their frenemies, as I like to call it. And so what was that thing? What was that one moment that you had to say, do you know what, I'm going to do this? What was it?
For me, what it was, it's about resilience, right? The thing is, it's about only you can make you what you want to be. And it's seeing beyond, you know, negatives. I'm a firm believer in, you know, we're brought onto this world to make of what we can do for ourselves. Yes, we can turn to people for support and help and guidance, which is great. But, you know, you get up in the morning, you look in the mirror and you say, well, you know, today's the morning I'm getting up and I'm going to do something that I'm going to make myself happy. Now, not every day, everything you strike a chord at that you're going to do right. You know, we're here, we make mistakes, we learn from it, we move on. So for me, it was all about what the worst can happen. No one's going to kill me. You know, no one's going to say, oh, you've made such a bad job of it. And, you know, there could be things where, you know, again, the negatives, but I was very much about, I can do this. I've got years of experience, you know, I've got good contacts. I understand technology, I understand the sector, and I believe in me. And that's the whole thing. It's about reflecting and looking at yourself and saying, well, you know, what's going to stop you? Only you as a person, if you don't want to go ahead and take those negative thoughts on board, will hold you back. And what's going to happen in a few years' time, you're going to say, wish I didn't. Oh, if only. And I didn't want to be looking back saying, oh, you know what, if I'd taken that role, I could have been here now.
Regret is the biggest, I think, regret is the biggest stumbling block that we will have in our lives. You know, we look back on our lives, I wish I would have done this and I wish I would have done that. But actually, we just give ourselves a chance. we actually get to understand our own abilities and just how much we can do. But I want to go back in the conversation to the beginning, because you said that you were like just like an office junior, and I'm, my ears went bing, because I know that there are so many people out there, especially now we're coming out of COVID. There's been so many things said. The government has said this, the government has said that, and people are really feeling insecure. They don't know whether they're coming or going. People have lost their jobs.
Yeah.
And so now for those people out there who may just be starting out, they may be young, or they might be even older, and they're thinking, oh gosh, now I've lost my job, I've got to start again. You said that you started out as an office junior and you just wanted to just have a job and progress. And that office junior job, fast forward some years, has landed you a position as a CEO of a company. Now, I want to make this clear to the viewers. This is not a CEO of Carol's own company, right? Because we know that we can build our own businesses, and then we can give ourselves the accolade of CEO of our own company. It's easy to do that, right? And not actually function as a CEO. So where Carol is today, she is actually a CEO of someone else's company and is running that company. So this is massive. And I want our viewers to understand just how big this role is. This is not a fly-by-night role. This is the head of the company. And this is what you do. So if you can start as an office junior and then go to the headship, that then says that it's available for everybody else. If you want it. And you've got to want it. And also have a good support system around you. Because you mentioned your husband, you mentioned your children, but you also mentioned that the company before this company waited 2 years. That's like, we don't hear things like that. This is like fairy tale like. So you have to know your worth, your gold, that you are the gold. And this is what I tell my ladies in my academy. You've got to know that you are the gold. When did you know that you had the ability to be a CEO of a company?
When did I know? I've always aspired, I used to talk to myself and say, oh, it would be nice. Let's just roll back. It'd be, I just used to see people driving these lovely fancy cars. And I used to think, gosh, I wonder what they do. What do they do to have such lovely cars? Or you drive down the street and you see, oh, a lovely house. And it's not because you're envious, you're just curious, So I've always thought to myself, how can I, through what I know, get to a level that I can say that, I've achieved, something that, I'm passionate about. I love construction. People know me. I just love construction. And it got to the point where to get to be the CEO of an organization and to be said, told that, okay, you're going to be completely responsible, right? There's not a CEO there already. We want you to come in and head that ship. And I remember having that interview and very much, I was thinking, I'm not going to get this role. Because I'll be honest with you, there are other people, male, going for the same role.
Right.
So I did, it wasn't a clear cut that, she's going to get the job. I had to go through the whole process. So, I always thought of myself through my learning and everything else and my experience that to get to that CEO level would be, a great thing to me. I always had that insight, but I never thought, the opportunity would come. And when it did, Yvonne, when I went for, a couple of meetings and you had to present and the challenge is when you go for a high position, they want to see your track record. And, as you said, I'm being a CEO for somebody else's business. So they're wanting to ensure that they're investing and bringing the right person in to manage and take the business where it needs to be. So that's a massive ask when you've not got on your CV, oh, last job CEO, last job CEO, last job MD or whatever.
Yeah.
Last job consultant, last job, professional services manager. So it's a big jump.
Yeah.
But it's then, during my interview, I'm talking to somebody that's in construction, and he's asking me all the questions, and I'm telling him, well, what do you do for I turned the interview around.
Good for you.
How could I, as a CEO of a construction software house, help your business? Well, first of all, I would review your processes, and I taught the language that he understood, and I think that helped the whole process because he knew that I understood the sector, and by understanding the sector, understanding the technology, and gave me the opportunity. And when I remembered, they actually offered me the job. The second interview, I remember they kept on going in and out of rooms, and I was just like, oh gosh, what's happening here? And honestly, at one point I thought, hold it together, hold it. Is this going to be it, or is it going to say, look, sorry? Because I had this view that I'll be walking out without the job, and they just wanted to, just politely, because interviews, sometimes it's down to the last 2 or 3 people.
Yes.
So it could have just been a formality, a couple of questions, and then actually, no, sorry, not been successful. But no, fortunately, I sat there and they offered me the role, and then I was like, oh my God, lonely at the top. And everyone kept saying it's lonely at the top, but I took it on, and I have no regrets.
Good.
No regrets at all. It's been challenging. It's been lonely because you've got to make some tough decisions, but I think that's made a better person of me in terms of my development in the role. I'm a very much of a people person. I like to develop people because there's been, and if I look at my path, as I said to you, there's people that have looked out for me and given me the opportunity. So I'm very much about everyone deserves an opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's how it's been.
So how do you find working in a male-orientated environment?
Love it. You know what? It has its benefits. I'll be wrong sitting here as a female. In terms of some things you can actually win a male person around in terms of getting a decision made. And that's what I'm talking when I'm talking to a client. If I want something to be done, I'm speaking to an external client. But in terms of working with a predominantly male environment, it has had its challenges. You get your innuendos. It happens out. Banter happens out on site. But also it happens within an office environment, and some of it can be, whether you can call it healthy banter, you give as much as you can give, and some of it, I remember, a number of years, and I talked about this earlier on today, that I remember going into a meeting, and it used to be the same person in that meeting and the same person making comments about, oh, she's at home round the sink doing the washing up, that's where she needs to be. And at first I thought, what's that mean? And every time I was in the room, the comment would be, oh, she's probably doing the ironing and the shopping, that's what she's good for doing. And he was actually making comments about his partner, in that she's at home, that's where a woman's place is.
Right.
And at the time, the first couple of times, I thought, odd. I thought, but then I thought, why is he every time that I'm in the room?
Right.
Is he making that reference?
Yeah.
And it just got, and then others would then join in, and they will just have a little male laughter about it. But at the end of the day, I kind of switched off. My focus was that I've put a lot of sacrifices to go to work. I am a mum, and there were times when I wasn't able to pick my children up from school.
Yeah.
And those are the times that even now, a little bit emotional.
Yeah.
But I had the support that my mum used to do that, because if I was somewhere else in the country and I couldn't get there, it was a challenge. And you have those guilt trips as a mum or a parent that wants to work.
Yeah.
And then when your child comes home and said, oh, you miss my assembly, or you miss, and those are the things, that that hurt. And then just to counteract from that, you then think, well, hold on, why are you beating yourself? I'm sure I'm not the only parent that has to go to work.
Yeah.
But those are the things that do strike a chord.
Yeah.
And those are the things that people don't see. People will actually look, oh, life must be rosy, it's been an easy journey, but it's not. It does have its its own challenges.
Yeah.
Challenges from being in a male dominated industry, and I'll tell you, I absolutely love it. I wouldn't change it for the world. And the challenges of being a female and wanting to be ambitious.
Yeah.
And from my parents, my mum was very much about, she worked and look after the house. You had the set routine, everything done regimental. We sent off to church on a Sunday, and chasing a career it was keeping the house.
Yeah.
So it's a different generation.
Yeah.
And I'm very much about what I'm a true believer, Yvonne, and you're doing the same thing, is you set that standard and that example that your generation and the future generation can see that it's not about letting time stand still. It's about looking at how you can fight those barriers, show example of fighting those barriers, and getting to the goal that you want to get to.
Absolutely.
And those goals some of them are easy to get to, and you might have your humble and bumps along the way. But if you keep that drive and that resilience, you can get there.
You can overcome anything once you put your mind to it. We see that with our parents. I mean, at the moment, I'm doing a Windrush project and reading stories from the Windrush and the sacrifices that they made coming into a different country, how they were received when they got here, even though there was a call out for them to come and help. And many of those, as I call them, veterans, really put their lives on the line for their families. And it's no different today. It's a slight difference because we're not going to a different country. But I think values have changed, morals have changed, and the way that the world has changed. And so we're going now into the workforce, especially as being women, where we may not get paid as much as our male counterparts. We may be perceived as being the ones that need to be at home beside the kitchen sink or cooking. The world is changing now. We're seeing, like yourself, women taking these powerful roles and doing such great things. So for me, I think as the generations have passed now and are passing, the message that we're giving to the younger people now is that there are no boundaries. There are no limits. Only the limits and the boundaries that you put or they put on themselves. Now is the time for them to rise up. Now is the time for them to go out and get what they want. A lot of our young people now going to university. When I left school, university was the furthest thing from my mind. It was getting a job or having a trade. Because that's how I was raised. You must have a trade. You must have a trade. Be a nurse or something. You'll get secretary. You'll get a good pension. That's how it was. But now, I'm happy to say that more and more young people are going to university, even though there's ridiculous fees. But that's another show. But they are taking the best step forward, and so when they see this, and this is why I was so excited to have you here, because when younger people see this recording, there are no excuses anymore. Absolutely. You're a black female, for one. You're working with men, for two, and you control the company. You are the head. There is no one higher than you. So that, you know, what more of an example could there be? You know,
but it's to do with the confidence and the resilience, as we said. You know, just having that self-belief that you can do it, and you know, knowing where you can reach out for support as well. Now, you know, that support from, and it's much different to when, you know, I was growing up. You know, you didn't have social media to the extent that you've got now, that you can research information and find out. But I think a lot of problems with some of social media is that you can't get to the right information. And then maybe, you know, some individuals, some youngsters are saying, well, where do I start? Where do I get the help that I need? And one of the things that, you know, I want to be able to do, and you know, I've spoken to a few schools and universities before, you know, COVID, that I'd like to offer my service to go in and speak to young people and let them speak and openly, because that's another challenge, is young people, when they get at that teenage point, they don't feel that they're listened to. And that's the biggest challenge. You know, they always feel that they're getting cut short. They're trying to express, and you know, the hormones are going all over the place, and they don't get out what they want to get out, and then they give up, and they just feel, you know what, and then maybe sometimes if they're not strong enough, they get led to a place where they shouldn't have been led if they had the opportunity to be listened to. And that's where, you know, through, you know, conversations and the things that you're doing is, you know, if we can get, you know, not just young people, there's people of our age, people that have, you know, either been mums and now trying to get their careers going, or want to have a change in career, or, you know, COVID, people have been made redundant, and they're sitting there thinking, oh my God, what do I do next? And they're getting the panic.
Yeah.
And that's the panic that you know, oh, I'm going to go and retrain, or go, no, don't try and juggle everything, because you just won't do it. Your mind will just go so boom, where you won't make the right decision. And it's about just taking time out and saying, okay, what do I want to do? There's training courses that you can go on, and I know people need to make money, but you know, there's teaching courses that they're actually, you know, paying you to do teaching. I think that's a great thing to do.
Shortage of teachers. There's a shortage of teachers,
and just think of all the holidays you get as well. But
you need them though.
Yeah, you do.
you do. Yeah.
But there's opportunities. There's opportunities to you know, to progress, and just, you know, don't try. And I was speaking to somebody today. It said, you know, there's some people say, well, I've studied to be an accountant. I'm a great accountant, got that qualification, but then I've done a QS and I'm a good QS, but I can't get a job, and I can't get a job in accounting. Right, I'm going to go and study to be a project manager, and all of a sudden, you know, you say, oh, whoa. Don't keep studying all these things. What you're trying to do, paint history. No, just take stock and do something that you're going to enjoy.
Absolutely.
And focus on being the best at what, you know, you feel that your skill set matches. And try and just keep that focus.
I mean, over the weekend I've facilitated a course about how to make money while you sleep. Right. And it's all about using your skill set. What do you have in your hand? What is your hobby? What's your side hustle? What is it that you really enjoy doing? Let's look at it and see if you can create an income from it. Because a lot of the skills that we have are transferable, right? So if you're an accountant, you know, you've got some transferable skills that you can still use the numbers, but your role, the job that you do might be slightly different, and you might enjoy it a bit more. So, it, you know, for me, I'm totally agreeing with what you're saying. We have to get to a place where we can look and see what have we got in our hand, what is the skill set, and how can we take that skill set and monetize it. And sometimes, you know, if you've lost your job, sometimes it's not about you going to get a job. Sometimes you're going to have to create your own company. Sometimes you have to be your own rescue. That's what I'm saying. And that's where I'm at now. And this is what I'm encouraging more and more people to do. Be your own rescue now. You know, we're in a recession. We've been in a recession for a long time. The government haven't said it. They've only said it recently, but we know we're in a recession. So what is it that you've got? You saw that you had a love for construction, and you went with that love, and you went on a journey, you went on a road trip, and it has brought you to a really great place. So, you know, I just think that this is encouragement for young and middle-aged and the older ones, because I always say you're never too old.
Absolutely.
You can't write yourself off.
Never write yourself off.
No,
never write yourself. And as you said about monetizing, you know, something that you're good at. So, example, if you're good at numbers, well, what's happened? Children haven't been able to go to school. You know, children are the generation of 2020 going to need that extra boost in, you know, their academic subjects. There's an opportunity there if you're able to have the patience, obviously do the necessary, you know, courses to help children.
that's it.
Yeah, and you know, you can either do that from your home or online or whatever. But there's something that you can do, and you're right. It's about saying, right, what can I do that I can get up every morning and say, oh, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah,
you know, I'm good at that. That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah,
and you know, then the checks comes in.
Yeah, and that's it. If you're good at talking, talk.
Yeah.
If you're good at singing, sing. If you're good at writing, write. Whatever you're good at, just do it and get it out there. Let people see. Don't hide it. Don't hide your gift under a bushel, but let your light shine. That's what I believe. You know, and I think that that's exactly what you've done. And now we're seeing this, and this is why we're doing this show, because what I recognize, especially within our community, that there are many who are doing great work, great things, achieving massive goals, but we don't know about them. We don't know how to contact them. We don't even know they exist. And so when I was like looking to my network, who do I know, you know, and then I started to think about, you know, the type of person that I wanted to be here with me on this show. And then I thought, yes, I'm going to contact you and see where you're at. Why I did that is because we have young people growing up. I've got a young daughter, and I want her to see another female doing it. I've got young men. I've got two boys that are young men. I want them to see, do you know what? It's not just mum that's doing it. There are other females doing it. And this is what I want you to aspire to, and see that when you meet a female who has ambition, don't hold her back. Support her and let her fly, you know, let her find her wings. Because sometimes there are, as females, sometimes we can get into relationships that do hinder. And thank God, you know, you've got a great husband, and so you've been able to fly. But there are some who don't have that luxury. And I want this show to represent and speak to those men as well, who may feel insecure about their partner earning more money than them. But it's not about what your partner earns. It's about what you bring to the table as a couple.
Exactly.
You know, and I know that some of those things have issues, and people have had issues in their relationships, you know, but you being here shows that it can be done.
100%.
Yeah, it shows it's achievable.
Absolutely. And it's about a good partnership. At the end of the day, I wouldn't be here, and I wouldn't have got where I have if I didn't have the support. Simple. Yeah, simple as that. I just would not have been able to excel, and you know, that is, you know, that's what it's been for me. And you know, talking about, you know, men have challenges as well.
Absolutely.
And we want to also, you know, there are men that want to get into the corporate side and climb those ladders, and you know, they have their own challenges to get to it. And we've got to support one another in how we do that. And that self-belief that you can get it. There's a lot of negatives in the media, and you just got to say, well, hold on a minute, I'm not going to be a statistic. I am going to be me. I'm going to do what me does, and I'm going to do what me does well. And that's what the focus has to be.
Absolutely. Well, as you've got to this point, we're going to go into our coffee, cake and conversation segment. Now, today we have, in our conversation, we have the luxury of tasting a cheesecake made by Cheesecake to Go. So, without further ado, so this is, I do believe that the all the information will be put up on the screen for how you can get in contact with the person who makes this cheesecake. Now, this is, I'm from Bedfordshire, and I know that you've spent some time in Bedfordshire too. So, and this person who makes Cheesecake to Go is from Bedfordshire. But if you really like something, you will travel for it. Believe me, I will travel for a good plate of food. That's just me. I will travel for a good lemon drizzle cake or a rum cake. Let's put it that way. Right. So we have this cheesecake that has been sent as a sample. So this is for you, Carol, to try it. And as we are doing it, I shall give that to you. This is a lemon meringue cheesecake made by Cheesecake to Go. And so Carol is going to give her verdict of whether it's good to go or not to go.
I'll tell you what, I've got a friend that absolutely loves cake, and there.
Well, I think
That is lovely, absolutely delicious.
Well,
Absolutely. I'll be putting my order in.
Okay.
It's absolutely delicious.
Fantastic. So on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is delicious, where would we say that that is?
Oh, definitely up there, 10.
Wow, we got a 10. A
Yeah,
10. I need to get some
definitely.
cue cards with 10,
Yeah,
some
definitely.
caps and all that. A 10.
And it's not too sweet. It's just right, because
I'm gonna try.
I don't like things to be too sweet, and that it's just.
I'm gonna
Try
try.
it. Just try it. And the lemon just kicks back.
Mmm. 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 Oh yes.
It's nice, told you.
The crunch of the biscuit. Mmm. And the lemon. Oh, the tang of the lemon. Cheesecake to Go. That's a 10 out of 10 for this week. We'll be back with the coffee cake and conversation part of each show. So if you want your cake or your cheesecake or your bread, whatever it is, to be featured on the show, please contact me at info@yvonnemichele.com. So as we carry on with our conversation, and you feel free to eat more if you want to eat more. So as we've been talking about development and how, where you were in your company and how you got there, how easy is it for, because if I talk from a female perspective, first of all, for females to get into construction, because I would imagine that, you know, in my head it'd be like, that you won't get many females applying for jobs in that genre.
Yeah, I think it's a perception. You know, you say construction, everyone thinks, right, it's out on site, muddy boots, hard hat, mud, and oh no, and it's perceived as an unattractive career path. However, construction, if you're an accountant, you can work in construction. If you work in HR, you can work in construction.
Yeah.
You know, if you do payroll, you can work in construction.
Yeah.
If you work in procurement, so if you know how to buy materials, or you've bought stationery, or you're head of admin, you can work in construction.
Right.
So it's knowing where your strength is to then say, okay, I want to get into construction. So there is definitely avenues to get into that sector. And in the past, there's always been that stigma that, oh, construction, the minute there's a recession, that's where it gets hit.
Right.
But as you've seen during COVID, it's been the opposite. Look at how the Nightingale hospitals were built within a matter of days. That's where construction pulls together. Houses, shortage of houses, that's where construction has been pulled together. So getting into it is not as difficult as one would expect. If you've got, and it goes back to, where do you see your skill? Are you a numbers person, or do you just want to have a broad knowledge of a process that happens in construction? So there are so many different stages. If right, I want to tender or estimate a project, yeah. So there's this building. It's got bricks. It's got lighting. It's going to take machinery, and you want to help price a building, and you're quite clever on, you know, pulling things together, information. There's a job there that you can do, and you don't have to have, you know, degrees to get into it. You just need to say, well, I want to get in, I want to be interested in it, I want to learn.
Yeah.
And then you start and you can work yourself into it. And that's, you know, again, that's what I said to you. I want to be able to take away the stigma and that, you know, oh, I can't do it. I will never get into construction because it's only people that go to university that has engineering after their names that can get into it. Okay. And it's not about that.
No.
You know, if you want to, you know, aspire and specialize, then yeah, of course, you go to night school and you can get more information and understanding.
Yeah.
But, you know, there is definitely a way of getting into construction that is not as hard as the perception is. And it is a good sector to be in. You know, Boris is saying build, 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 isn't he? So there's investment. We need roads.
Yeah.
Right. We need rails.
Yeah.
We need maybe not as much big office blocks with people working from home now, but you know, infrastructure is always going to be needed, airports and the like. So it's not as daunting as people think it is to get into.
No, you make it sound not glamorous, but you make it sound more attractive. Because I would never have thought about going into construction, wearing a hard hat and all of that. But you do make it look good. We do have a picture. I don't know if we can put that picture up, Carol. With her hard hat. There you go. Bold in business. Yeah.
You know, it was just the opportunity. The hat was a bit big for my head, but hey ho, hey ho.
You made it look good. Yeah. You know, it's fabulous.
But I wanted to show, and I changed my link. I went on a LinkedIn course a couple of days before, and they said, you know, on your background, you know, like on Facebook, you can have the background picture, and then you have your main one. He said, oh, a lot of people don't put anything in their background, and I thought, oh no, I haven't got nothing on the back. And they said, you need to put what you're about, what your passion is about. And I thought, well, my passion is construction, so why not me a picture of me? I've got my little glamour for when, you know, I was out last year as my main profile, but I thought people need to know that I'm about construction. Yeah, so it's not about just the glam. I'm passionate about construction, the processes, you know, speaking to the operations director, the guys out on the field, and you know, that's me. I've been in that background for over 30 years. I enjoy it.
Yeah, definitely. And I just, when I said, can you send over a picture? I got that picture. I was like, I love this. I love this. I absolutely love the fact that you were in the hard hat, in the high vis, and you're like, this is me. Because I know you as quite glamorous. You always look absolutely beautiful, as you do this evening, and always look beautiful. And then to see you like with your long hair and the cat, and I'm like, yes, girl, that's what we want to see. You've got to do it. You've got to do it. So yeah, just seeing that picture, and just to say, the other picture, you know, we've done the Icon magazine.
Yeah.
Do you know how much people have contacted me about that? No. Yeah. So, you know, it was like, oh, you know, I might start a magazine. Who knows? You know,
why not?
Well,
you're an icon yourself, Yvonne.
Thank you.
You've done so well. No, you know, credit where credit's due.
You
know, it's about we're here embracing successes, and you're a successful lady as well. So
thank you for saying that.
Definitely.
Yeah. So we're, you know, so yeah. So that's. Yeah, so that really kind of put me in good stead. And I was like, this is the woman who has broken down. You've really kicked down some barriers. You really have. You're very much a trailblazer, very much so. And so, you know, I think that it would have been so nice to have maybe some question and answers, and maybe we'll have you back again on another show to kind of answer some questions for people, you know, because I'm sure there must be people out there asking or wondering, how did you do it? What keeps you motivated? You know, and what does keep you motivated now that you've got the position and you've got to keep the company where it's heading? What keeps you motivated on a day-to-day basis?
Being where I am now, it's one of those things you don't want to go back. You look at your journey and you think, well, I'm here now. What else can I do? And once you get to a position where you're happy and you'll know it, you just want to, right, what's next? And, you know, I do a lot of reading, and I do a lot of, I've taken up running again. And I use my exercise as part of my thought process. So when I'm out, I'm thinking and, you know, right, okay, exercising my body as well as my mind, body and soul. And that keeps me going. It really keeps me going. And I'm very challenged. I like to look at, okay, so if I've done this year and we've got this far, what if we, you know, like COVID, we've had to adapt. Our business has had to adapt. I used to have consultants getting in the car, driving to customer site to deliver training. Well, we've had to adapt. We can't go to customer site. So we're doing it all by Teams. And it's been brilliant, you know, because you've got the focus, you know, people are more engaging. They know that you're there. And, you know, that's what makes me, you know, passionate, looking at how, again, making changes, adapting changes and monetizing those changes, because by people not going out, it's saving costs. By saving costs, the bottom line is better. And it's that kind of, that's what I get excited about.
Great. So that's a tip for people who are thinking, oh, you know, I'm working from home. You know, if they take the focus away from home and they look at the spend and what they're not spending, and that is if you're not, you know, over zealous with Amazon, you know, if you're not, you know, naughty. But if you, you know, kind of manage yourself well, then you can actually have created great savings.
Absolutely. Every morning I used to drive past Starbucks and spend £7 a day on Starbucks.
Wow.
Without realising it. You know, you get into habit. It's a habit.
It is.
Okay, so you can live by your habits, but then when you change your habits, there's a benefit of changing, right? And the changing in that time, I'm not the only one. Lots of people have realised that all of a sudden they're not going out for that cheeky drink after work because they can't. Or they're not going to go and have that slap-up meal because they couldn't. So what's happened? The money's there in the bank. And then, they then use it on Amazon to buy gadgets that they don't probably need. So it's that vicious circle.
Note to self, you don't need it.
Exactly.
You don't need it. You didn't have it before, so you don't need it. So I think that this whole lockdown, I think if we as people begin to reframe how we think about it, you know, I know that there's a lot of uncertainty. I know that the government don't seem to know what they are doing from one minute to the next. They change their minds like they change socks, I suppose, if they change them that frequently. That's if that is. But I think that if we can reframe the situation and look at what are the benefits, you know, there have been a lot of disadvantages. I know for families being separated from other members of their families and stuff like that. But in terms of where they are, what they think, how they do things in their home, in their business, you know, if you change how you think and you change, even if it's a 2mm shift, the results are going to be different and the results can be better. And that's what we have to think about. And I think in terms of because you sent me a video of you addressing some of the companies that use your software and stuff. And even in that, I found that to be so informative and so inclusive. It was so, even though it was very corporate, it was done in such a loving way. It was just like, okay, guys, I'm mum, and this is what we're gonna do, and these are the strategies that we're gonna put in place, and we're all gonna work together
Yeah.
and get the job done. And I think that I watched that and I thought, this is good stuff. This could be sent to different areas, different genres of work,
Yeah.
just so that people can see, right, this is where we're at, but it doesn't mean to say it's the end.
That's right.
We can use this as a springboard and change the whole conversation, the whole dynamic of what has been put on us, and we can make something good come of it. So my question to you now is, which might seem like a strange question, is how do you manage to do that and keep your company or keep your employees abreast and keep them working with you, moving with you?
It's the communication. I think we all, in the corporate world or even in small businesses, the phrase of death by emails. What COVID has done, not just for our business, even though we're a small team, but for many businesses, is bring people closer together. So I'm very much about the communication side. So I'll get on a team call and have a conversation. But one of the things I introduced, and it was, I think we did a dry run of people working from home the 22nd of March, before we all knew that was going to be locked down, everyone. And we introduced Teams because we wasn't using it before. We had it, we weren't using it. So we then, as part of that, once everyone was working from home, from that point, every single morning before 9:30, you can set up little chats, and I set up a business chat. And every morning I used to send an email to all the team. Morning team, hope everyone's well. We're in challenging times. Hope you and your family. And it was all about family first, business later.
Right.
Because you've got to realise that during this time, some people aren't used to working from home.
Yeah.
People got small children, and all of a sudden the children are at home. Yeah, and they're trying to hold down a corporate job.
Yeah.
And it was very much about making sure that the ones that were struggling, and I always said, the main thing is take a break, communicate, and hydrate. Right. And those were my last part in every morning, was the same thing. And we were going through that hot period. So it was very much about communicating to my team. And I've always been because it's a small enough company, everyone has a voice.
Right.
And there is some that previously would just be followers. And, through their reviews, I said, no, you've got some great ideas. Because when I talk to you one-to-one, you tell me some great ideas. Now I want you to take and feel confident that you can share that with the rest of your colleagues. And people have excelled. During this lockdown, people in my team have absolutely, and I'm like, is that the same person? They've now got more confidence and pushed themselves further. And it's that encouragement. And, I'll say that I've got some really, really good people on my team. And without the team, the business wouldn't be where it is.
Yeah.
And behind every leader, you've got to have a good team behind you, because you can't, yes, I've got the title of a CEO. Yes, that takes responsibility. But it's not saying that, all right, I'm going to get people that, all right, they haven't got the knowledge. I'm going to get people that got even maybe some skills that I haven't got.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's about making sure you spread that, skill set right for the business, so you can push the business forward, rather than saying, well, no, I can't have him. He's a bit, going to be too much experience and might be after my job. No. He knows the boundaries, in terms of his skill or her skill. And it's about how it's going to shape the business and move it forward.
Brilliant.
But communication is key. Because if you don't communicate, and it's like, when you're in, even in home life, if you don't communicate, how are you going to know how other people are feeling?
Yeah, absolutely.
How? One of my guys, he had one of his mother wasn't well, and he's like, I don't know how to. Can I call? talk to me.
Yeah.
What's up?
Mm.
And so I don't know how to say it, but my mum's not, you know, and it's like, talk. I've got a mum.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I can share anything, you know, you can share. And, you know, my door's always there. My door is always have been open for my team to talk.
Good.
And that's what's going to help, you know, push the business forward. And we're going through adaptation now. Everything's changing. And, you know, as much as I have the great ideas, I want them to be part, because if you don't get people on board,
yeah,
then it won't happen.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want to drag people by the hair, kicking and screaming, saying, yeah, my idea is great, you've got to follow it. You want to embrace and, you know, have a bit of a brainstorm and make sure that they put their, you know, value into the idea as well. And that's important, very important.
Well, thank you so much, Carol. That tip there, communication, guys, communication is key for any business, for relationships, for wherever you find yourself. Communication is key. I want to thank you, Carol, for joining us. We come to the end of the show. I can't even believe that the time has gone so quickly, but it's been absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
I thank you for coming, and I would love to invite you back a little bit further down the line, just so, especially once we've kind of had the calm through COVID, just to find out how you're getting on, how the business is growing, and all those lovely, lovely things. And maybe we can see some more pictures of you in your hard hat attire.
That's been lovely. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
You're so
keep
welcome.
Doing what you're doing as well.
Thank you. Guys, we will be back again soon with the Yvonne Michele Show. Please do remember to like, share and subscribe to the channels that you are watching on. And also remember to support your local businesses, support the people in your community if you and when you can. But for now, I just want to bid you a good night, stay safe and show love. Ciao.